Alright, you read the title, you know what I'm about to do. I'm about to run through every game in week 1 of the NFL. But before I do that, how about commenting down below and letting me know if I should do more of this, because it took a really long time to make and I don't know if I can do this every week. Alright, let's get into it. With Thursday night game, where the Bills went head-to-head with the reigning Super Bowl champs Los Angeles Rams. And the Bills got off to an early 10-0 lead with the first touchdown of the 2022 season coming from Josh Allen, throwing a 26-yard bomb to Gabriel Davis. But Stafford and the Rams wouldn't go down lightly, as he'd lead the Rams down the length of the football field all the way to the red zone, and thanks to a 12-yard pass to Allen Robinson on a 3rd and long. And Stafford would cap that drive off with a 4-yard pass to Cooper Kupp in the back of the end zone. But by the time we reached the beginning of the 4th, Allen and the Bills would find themselves in the red zone yet again, scoring on a 4-yard QB rush and taking a 14-point lead. And on the very next drive, Stafford would throw an interception on a deep pass intended for Kupp, which the Bills turned around for even more points. And in back-to-back drives for the Rams, Stafford would throw his 3rd interception of the game, essentially ending it there and getting blown out by the Super Bowl favorites, Buffalo Bills. Next was the Saints vs. Falcons thriller, where Marcus Mariota would make his Falcons debut going up against good old Jameis Winston. But it would be a 3rd QB in Taysom Hill who kicked off this game, with a 57-yard run down the length of the football field, followed by another Taysom Hill run only like 2 plays later, this time for 11 yards and a touchdown. Like, how do you not pick up on that if you're Atlanta? Anyway, a few field goals later, plus a Cordell Patterson touchdown, the Falcons would be leading 16-10 in the 3rd quarter. And after a crazy 40-yard PI call, Mariota and the Falcons would find themselves on the 2-yard line, as Mariota would rush it in to take a 23-10 lead. But then came Michael Thomas out of nowhere, who caught 2 touchdowns in back-to-back drives for the Saints after basically doing nothing before then, making the game 24-26. Yeah, I know, right? After getting the ball with only 48 seconds left, Winston would throw it for a 40-yard dime to Jarvis Landry. And before we get to the ending of this one, how about taking a moment to like the video and subscribe? Man, subscribe already. Okay, thank you. Now let's get back to this Saints-Falcons game. And that Jarvis Landry catch would set up a Saints 51-yard field goal attempt to win the game by Will Lutz, which he would hit, meaning the Saints won their first game of the year. What an amazing ending. Now, this Bears vs. Niners game could only be described in one word, and that word is wet, because goddamn was it boring. Anyway, this game was a whole lot of nothing in the first quarter, a few turnovers, but that's about it. In the second quarter, however, Lance would push down the field and hand it off to Debo for a 6-yard run to take an early 7-0 lead. Who saw that coming, right? But that would be just about it scoring-wise for the Niners, as the Bears would eventually answer back in the 3rd quarter with Justin Fields scrambling in the pocket and throwing a 50-yard TD to none other than Dante Pettis. Wow. And after a weak-ass attempt of a drive by the Niners, the Bears would get the ball right back and Justin Fields would throw another touchdown pass, this time 18 yards to St. Brown, to take the lead 13-10. And Trey Lance would actually follow this up immediately with an interception right into the hands of ballhawk Eddie Jackson. And can you guess what the Bears did when they got the ball after back-to-back touchdown drives? That's right, they'd go and score another touchdown. This time, 3-yard run to Khalil Herbert. And that would be all she wrote, as the rain got so bad that both offenses did basically nothing for the rest of the game. And the Bears would upset supposed playoff contenders in the Niners in a 19-10 win. Now next came the Bengals vs. Steelers game. And this game got kicked off right away with a Minkah Fitzpatrick 31-yard pick 6 off Joe Burr almost immediately. In the second quarter, it was the offense's turn to score for the Steelers, as Mitch Trubisky would throw a 32-yard missile to Zach Gentry. I know, Mitch Trubisky, missile. Anyway, this would lead to a Najee Harris touchdown from the 1, giving the Steelers a 17-3 lead. But Joey Burrow and the Bengals kept their head down coming out of halftime, and on their 3rd drive of the half, Burrow threw a 2-yard pass to Tyler Boyd and converted the 2. And after an interception and a handful of field goals, the Bengals would see themselves with the ball at their own 40 with a minute 26 on the clock, being down by 6. But Joey Burrow and Jamar Chase got to work, and Jamar would score off a 6-yard pass in the red zone with 2 seconds left. But with the win in their grasp of their palm, all they needed was an extra point by Evan McPherson. The kick would get blocked due to a high snap, and all of a sudden they were going into OT. And oof, was that a mess for both teams, because they both had multiple possessions and each team would miss a kick as McPherson shanked it while Boswell banged it off the pole. But someone had to win, and when it came to it, Boswell clutched all the way up and hit a pretty difficult 53-yard kick to win the game and upset last year's AFC champs 23-20. And next would be the crazy-ass game in Detroit, where defense was non-existent in the Eagles vs. Lions game, with the first score coming off of a 1-yard rush from Jamal Williams. And after 2 clean TD drives for the Eagles, Jared Goff would have the ball and launch it right into the hands of James Bradberry for a 27-yard pick six, with the Eagles now leading 21-7. And with the game looking like it was getting away from the Lions, Goff clutched up all the way and threw a 4-yard pass to Amon St. Brown on the 3rd and goal, making the score 21-31, a little more manageable. And thanks to the Eagles defense falling asleep in the 4th, the Lions would still have a chance, especially after DJ Chark caught a 22-yard TD pass with 3 minutes left, making it a 3-score game. But the Eagles were able to hold out and force the Lions to burn all their timeouts as they'd win the game 38-35. And if it looks like I skimmed past this game a bit, it's because I did. Look, if you want to hear more about the Lions sucking, just go watch the Hard Knocks or something. I don't know. Anywho, next up is the Baker revenge game, where the Browns got it kicked off with 2 Kareem Hunt touchdowns. Second being 24-yard rush. So, go Kareem Hunt. Screw all the Nick Chubb fantasy owners. But the Panthers would respond with the rushing TD of their own, with CMC announcing his return with a bang of a touchdown. And after a pretty tame third quarter, Carolina pounced right back into the game, scoring on a 75-yard ball that Baker launched to drama starting Robbie Anderson for a TUD, making the score 21-23. And after scoring a field goal with their next drive, the Panthers would take the lead 24-23, which meant that Jacoby needed to lead this team down the field for a chance to make a field goal or something, which he did by slinging it to receivers like Peoples-Jones and Amari Cooper, putting them in range for a 58-yard field goal attempt by rookie Cade York. Talk about a dope-ass name. And can you guess what the rookie did? That's right, he clutched the hell up and made a game-winning field goal in his very first NFL game, which, you could probably pick up the pieces from that. Anyway, next up is the Matt Ryan debut for the Colts as they go up against Lovie Smith and Dougie Smith. Dougie Smith, that's not even his name. His name is Davis Mills. Anyway, nothing really interesting happened until like halfway through the second quarter, where Matt Ryan would throw a costly interception in the Houston red zone, and Davis Mills and the Texans would return this all the way back for a touchdown drive, ending with a 16-yard pass to O.J. Howard. Then, shortly after halftime, the Colts would turn the ball over again, and the Texans would turn around and score off their mistakes with another TD pass to O.J. Howard, making it 20-3. But the Texans just had to be the Texans, as Jonathan Taylor ran through their D for a touchdown, putting the Colts 1 touchdown out of it. And on the very next drive for the Colts, Matty Ice would throw a dime to Michael Pittman to tie the game up at 20 apiece before the game ended. And after a 6-minute long drive in OT and a missed extra point later, this game would end in a tie for the first time this season. Kind of crazy that it's happening in week 1, but whatever. Okay, there were a few not so exciting games left in the morning slot, so I'm going to run through them real quick. First is the Ravens vs. Jets game, where Flacco somehow threw 59 passes in a game at his old age, while Lamar showed the Ravens that he is actually worth a record-breaking contract, so give him the damn contract already. Anyway, the Ravens ended up winning 24-9. Great for Lamar. Next quick recap is the Dolphins vs. Pats game, where whoever was calling plays on offense on the Pats didn't matter, not doing a good job at all, while the defense for the Dolphins got things rolling with the fumble recovery for a touchdown. That's crazy. And one Penguin Waddle TD later, and this game was essentially over as the Finns dominated, winning 20-7. Finally, the last game in the morning was a primetime match in the Commanders vs. Jaguars. I'm just playing. Ain't no one but fantasy users want to see that game. Anyway, Carson Wentz high-key went crazy, throwing 4 TDs and showing the world that the Colts were the ones holding him back and not the other way around. Anyway, easy Commander dub, 28-22. Okay, Next is the first afternoon match, where it was a battle of running backs down in Tennessee as Saquon and the Giants matched up against Derrick Henry and the Titans, where Tannehill and them boys started off nicely, driving down the field and throwing a touchdown pass on the first drive. But at the beginning of the second half, Saquon single-handedly brought New York back into this game, getting a 60-plus yard runoff. Amazing. And he followed that up with a 4-yard TD rush a few plays later, making it a 13-6 game. You know, pretty nice, pretty close. And even when they started losing in the game, which was like the entire game, they didn't give up. And Saquon and DJ, Daniel Jones, were able to drive down the field and score a TD and go for 2 and take the lead 21-20. That's right, they did that. But it wasn't over because the Titans had the ball in the last drive of the game and even got into field goal range. It didn't matter because kickers sucked this week and Bullock missed. So, yeah, there was that. Okay. Next is the Raiders-Chargers game, which, not gonna lie, sounds hype on paper, but by halftime, the Chargers were kicking the Raiders' ass 17-3, thanks to Justin Herb. But Derek Carr wasn't about to get embarrassed on live TV, that's why he wears mascara, and came back in the third quarter throwing a TD to Brandon Bolden for an 18-yard pass in the end zone, making it 17-10, you know? And in the fourth, off-season acquisition Devontae Adams finally showed up in the red zone, getting a 3-yard pass, making the score 19-24 with 4 minutes left. But it didn't seem to matter because the Chargers showed up, forced 2 fumbles on back-to-back plays to seal the game and win 24-19. Now, there were 2 other afternoon games, but we'll skim through those blowouts. First being the surprising outcome that came from the Vikings-Packers game, where Aaron and the offense played like straight garbage the entire time. O-line was bad, receivers couldn't catch, it was rough, especially considering the fact that they lost 7-23. Now, the other was just the Chiefs being the Chiefs versus the Cardinals, and let's be honest, this game was over by the first quarter. I mean, Mahomes threw 5 touchdowns versus a supposed playoff team. I don't know why these guys aren't Super Bowl favorites, and everyone in the league's afraid of them. They won 44-21. Nasty. Okay. Now comes Sunday night game and talk about a snooze fest. It started with 5 field goals in the first half, with 4 of those being from the Buccaneers. But both teams could not find the end zone for nearly the entire night, plus Dak Prescott ended up hurting his fingies, so the Cowboys season was basically over. I mean, he's out for 6 weeks. Just get Jimmy G already. Talking about injuries, Chris Godwin ended up getting hurt too, which was very unfortunate because he was looking good out there throughout the game. Anyway, gonna miss you, Chris Godwin. Hope you come back soon. Tampa Tom ended the game with a 5-yard TD pass to Mike Evans as they ended up winning 19-3 versus the Cowboys. Who saw that coming? Tom Brady's good. Oh wow, what a shocker, you know. And finally, on Monday night, Russell Wilson would play his former team, the Seahawks, as the Broncos played in Seattle. And damn, that game was crazy. I mean, it started off with a bang, as Will Dissly caught a 38-yard pass from Geno Smith? Yeah, Geno Smith. But in the second quarter, Russell Wilson and Broncos country bounced back with a 67-yard pass to Jerry Jeudy, tying the game 10-10. And by halftime, that would change as Seattle knocked on another tutty, and the Broncos added a field goal of their own to keep the game at 17-13 going into the half. After a few fumbles on the goal line for the Broncos, they would still somehow manage to find a way to score next, even though it would be a field goal, making the game 17-16 for the Hawks. And the Broncos would even get a last chance to win the game, but it didn't matter because Nathaniel Hackett doesn't know how to coach, and just poor time management. You can ask Peyton Manning, he knows. He was there, he watched, we watched him watch, and McManus would miss a 64-yarder. Tough. Anyway, big upsets, a lot of stuff happened. That's it for the video. It was a long and hard one to make, but if you liked it, let me know and I'll do it again. Fuck it. Bye.